how do flipped lectures work? And why should we start using flipped lectures? Well, in a traditional lecture, what you're doing is trying to explain a lot of content, and you're using visual aids, slides, to help you explain vast amounts of content. It's something we kind of have to do, particularly in our big undergraduate units where we've got a lot of material to cover. We want to have explained everything at least once. And I think that the traditional lecture still has a role in doing that. A few years ago, thanks to technology, many of us though switched to interactive lectures, which was much the same passive presentation of our understanding of things, but every now and again we'd have a break and ask the audience a question or take a question from the audience. Technology like Socrative or Mentimeter, or if they were online lectures using Echo, allowed us to ask questions of large audiences and get aggregated responses back from them. And look, I think we did really well with interactive lectures. Interactive lectures work really well when you've got a highly engaged audience. Your audience is engaged, they're answering the questions you're asking them, they're sitting quietly through the passive bits, and the next little break that comes along, they're ready to chat to you, ask good questions, and answer your questions. I think we did well for many years with this style. It worked well with psychology. Psychology has so many cool demonstrations and interactions we can make with the audience. There was even an informal survey many years ago, Australia-wide, and of the top 10 lecturers from the University of Sydney, 5 of them were from psychology. I think we did really, really well. But then the dark times came. Lectures were recorded. And what lecture recording did was say to students, there's no need to attend, there's no need to engage, everything's being recorded. This causes cognitive offloading. You don't need to use your neurons to encode the information anymore as you learn it. It's being recorded. The recording is remembering for you. And this just leads to recording hoarding and students who collect recordings and then at the end of semester in Stuvac think, oh, good, I've got 37 hours of lectures to watch in a week. It's just terrible. Terrible for attendance. Terrible for engagement. But really the nail in the coffin was the open book exam, which was born out of necessity of online exams and the inability to properly proctor to see whether or not someone was reading something. Okay, fine, let's make them open book. But that's just made things even worse. There's no need, most students think, to listen to someone speaking anymore. You've just got to hoard the slides. You've got to get the good notes. You don't even have to make your own notes. You just trade online. I've seen the trading sites online. Google your own notes if you want to be horrified, and you'll see people trading notes for your lectures because they don't want to listen to you. So this is terrible for the live interactive lecture. The 2021 data from Psych 1001 was even worse. It showed that only about 20% of people were attending live lectures. 30% or more students weren't watching the recordings either. So they weren't going near any lectures, even though so much effort was being poured into them. And from the exam recordings I had to watch as part of my role as integrity coordinator, it was clear that students weren't thinking about the questions. You never saw a student go, What you saw is this frantic searching through notes and slides for every single question, even the dead easy ones. Very, very depressing. And the data itself, of course, which showed that the students who were failing the course were also the students who just weren't watching the lectures. Now these students all have an equal chance to review our lectures, review our teaching at the end of semester. And many of them perhaps did review our teaching, never having seen any of our teaching or very little of our teaching. So the interactive lecture, perfect for an engaged audience, but there's a few other features of it that mean that they're extra effort. If you're into live interactive lectures and you're doing them on campus and you've got a large course, you have to repeat them to make sure everyone has a chance of attending. But I think the main point I want to make here is that when you're doing the interactive lectures online, live, oh my God, the stress, the anxiety, just particularly when you're doing it from home. But even if you're on campus, the stress of, oh, okay, now I've got my passive slide pack ready. Oh, right, now I've got to stop and do a question or two and check the chat. What's that strange question you've got? Oh, God, well, now I'm running over time. I've got 10 more slides to get through. Oh, all that effort to do all that live simultaneously. I've got to play a video now. Am I sharing the video sound? It's just so much stress. For what benefit? This is not attending. So these are the most stressful kinds of lectures you can give. The payoff is tiny. What's really worse, though, and is really the salt in the wound that was discovered only a few weeks ago from the second semester 2021 data, is that live attendance does not, when you control for overall performance in other units of study, live attendance does not, it's not associated with exam performance. Possibly even negatively associated with exam performance. This is really shocking. Whether or not people watch the recordings, yeah, highly correlated with exam performance. But when you tease the two apart, the live attendance is not adding anything. All that effort to make it live, to do all these things live at the same time, no, there's no benefit to it. Now, when you step back, it's kind of obvious. Because when someone's watching a streamed lecture that was recorded earlier, they get to pause, they get to go back, listen to something again. They can refer to their notes, they can make good notes instead of trading notes online. They can, when they reach the end of their streamed lecture, their pre-recorded lecture, yeah, they can sign off on it that they understand what's going on. That's not the case in a live lecture. It's frantic. You've got to be really good at taking notes. You're going to miss things while you're taking notes. It's just overwhelming. Something lecturers often say is that, no, the best students come to our live lectures, so that makes it all worthwhile. What the data showed in the end was that, yes, the best students who'd gone well in all other units too, yeah, they were attending live, but they were also listening afterwards. They were reviewing the lectures. They were reviewing the recordings. The worst performers were only attending live. If you only attended live, you did not go very well in the exam. If you only watched the streams later, you did okay. The data shows that. So all that extra effort and stress and anxiety, not only for no gain, but possibly for a negative experience. We're still doing the stats on that. It may even be a negative correlation. Yeah, we've got to change this. Hence the flip lecture. So here's how the flip lecture works. You take all your passive elements and group them together, and you turn that into your pre-recorded lesson. You're talking, you're using slides. Fine, that's fine. That's essential. You've got a lot of content to get through. Get through that in your pre-recorded lesson. Take all the interactive stuff that's so stressful live when you're switching between it and the slides. Take all that, group all that together too. Make sure it's structured. Make sure, as well as Q&A and chat, you've got demonstrations. Psychology is very good at demonstrations. You've got practice exam questions. You've got past exam questions. I know what the criticisms are here too. Oh, but we needed to have that demonstration right in the middle of that pre-recorded lesson. It's a cost-benefit analysis. Are you really going to deliver a 1-hour lecture online, a 1-hour lecture live, online, with all the stress that involves, just to make sure that you've got a demonstration in the middle? Be creative in the way you order these things. Put the demonstration before the upcoming posting of the pre-record, something like that. But when all those things are grouped together in your live review session, then you're completely focused on that, and that's fine. You're focused on the interaction only, that's fine. Even if you have to repeat lectures on campus, it's not going to be so bad if you're only repeating the live interactive bit, because the live interactive bit is going to change with each repetition. You're not going to strain your voice because the students are going to be doing most of the work. It's like a workshop. It's a workshop to raise their metacognitive awareness of their understanding of the material that they watched in the pre-records. They don't understand it? Fine, they go back, they watch the pre-records again. That's how a flipped lecture works. It maximizes the efficiency of delivering the bulk of information, but it also maximizes the quality and the depth of interactions that are possible. Of course, the one unknown here is, will they actually attend? And look, that's dependent on a lot of factors, but something that is probably quite dependent on is how well are you doing this? A pre-recorded lesson needs to be engaging, polished, succinct. It can't just be reading out slides. It can't just be completely passive and, what's the point of even doing it? If it's the kind of thing that would be better read by them in a textbook, remove that from your lecture. Give them a textbook reading as part of the lecture and move on to the slides and the content that needs to be explained, that needs to be clarified. Okay, that's important too. About the live review sessions, they've got to be brimming with content. You've got to have all kinds of questions and activities and demonstrations prepared, more than you could ever get through, just like a tutorial, to make sure that if things get slow, if things get quiet, you can pull out another past exam question, you can pull out another activity. If you think of a live review session as you just sitting there waiting for questions, it's not a live review session, that's a consultation or a Q&A session. We did have sessions like that the last few years when we were in lockdown. It made sense, it gave students a chance to ask questions, but they weren't well attended. A live review session as part of a flipped lecture is activities, worksheets, problems, demonstrations, past questions, practice questions. That's what it is. Do it well, and hopefully they'll attend. So here's what I did with my lectures last year. I did 6 really stressful, really good, I thought, interactive lectures. I'm not doing that in 2022. I'm going to split my 6 lectures up into 6 lessons. You can see they're shorter because I've torn out all the stuff that, I can read the textbook for that. I've torn out all the stuff that's going to be interactive, and I've just focused on hitting the learning outcomes for those lessons. And then in between, I've got these live sessions planned where I'm going to give them lots of activities and lots of demonstrations and past exam prep questions and practice exam questions. And I'm going to give them a real sense of how well they understood the content. And it's going to be of great benefit to the students who engage. There'll be plenty of other students who are just watching those later as if they were pre-recorded lectures. Really interested to see that data. But if I had to guess, I'd say that engagement in the live session, which is a dedicated live session, is going to determine final exam performance better this year. The hope is that in 2023, then we'll take those live sessions, move them on campus, and for the first time in more than a decade, we will have lecture halls full of life and activity and students, because these will be seen as absolutely essential. The kind of thing that private tutoring companies are doing right now, how dare they? Although how dare they, why are they making money doing these live explanations for students? Why aren't we doing it? So that's what we need to do, I think, with flipped lectures. And I hope this helped you understand not only what they are, but why we should be using them.